Hello friends, welcome back to this walkthrough of Final Fantasy VI with me, jrpg. In the last episode, we made our escape from the Magitech Research Facility via an exciting, if not great-looking, minecart ride. With Celeste nowhere to be found, the party boarded the airship, but Kefka had one last trick up his sleeve, mechanized crane arms that nearly brought down the airship. With Setzer's help, we managed to defeat the machines and fly away to Zozo, where Terra regained her memories in the presence of her father's magicite. That's right, Terra is half human and half Esper, which explains how she got her magical powers. We're now outside of Nars, where we've come to check up on things, so let's get going. But first, we've got Setzer with us, so let's get him suited up. Let's get him in the back row. And one thing I want to talk about with regard to his equipment is he comes equipped with a bandana. But if we change his helmet, he can no longer use the bandana. He actually can't use that despite the fact that it's his default helmet. Now, I've heard that explained as he sees Locke wears a bandana and then doesn't want to wear it anymore, but I think it's just an oversight and that's kind of a ridiculous explanation. Anyway, let's get some relics on him. We definitely want the sprint shoes on, and let's go ahead and throw the running shoes on him. Why not? And finally, let's give him an Esper. It doesn't really matter which one, but Stray is not being used right now, and it does give that magic power buff, which we're going to want, and I'll explain why when we get into what the slots actually do. So, now that we're all suited up, let's get to Narsh. Now, the first thing I want to do is hit the training room so we can heal up, but the ghost from Zozo is now in here, and he'll want to teach us about Magicite, but we already know about that, so let's keep going. We've been waiting for you. This way, please. Banon says, "Oh, you're here. The people of Narsh have finally decided to battle the Empire. How did it go at Vector?" And Arvis says, "I see. Your plan would combine Narsh's money with Figaro's machinery to storm the Empire. Not enough manpower, though." And Banon says we have to open the sealed gate. Terra? Terra says, "To the Esper world?" And Arvis says we'll never beat the Empire without them. Banon says when the gate has been opened, the Espers can attack from the east. We'll storm in at the same time from the north. No way around it. Banon says we must get the Espers to understand. We have to establish a bond of trust between humans and Espers. Only one person can do this. Terra. And Terra thinks to herself, half human, half Esper. My existence is proof that such a bond can exist. Terra says, "I'll do it. I'm the only one who can." And so she's with us on yet another one of Banon's kinda crazy plans, but let's talk to them. Banon says get the Espers to understand, and we can bring this war to a screeching halt. Terra, I know you can do this. Narsh's Elder says our battle lies before us. We must make ourselves ready. And Arvis says the sealed gate stands at the eastern edge of the Empire. There's a base there, but somehow we'll have to slip through. And now that's where we're going, and we know where that is. It's the place with the treasure room. But there are a few things going on in Narsh, so let's check it out. This guy says, can we harness the Esper's power? I think not. And yeah, it definitely seems really risky. This guy says weapons and armor shops are selling some new stuff for the coming war, and that is true, so let's go check it out. First, we'll stop at the weapon shop. And there are a couple of interesting things for sale. The first one is the poison rod here, and this works just like the ice rod and basically all the other elemental rods. It casts poison when used as an item and then breaks. But the interesting thing about it is that no one can use it. which is definitely weird, but we'll keep that in mind. We're not going to buy one of those because we can cast poison just fine. But the other one is the Hawkeye. This is a really, really strong weapon, and it says here same damage from back row, and that is true. However, 50% of the time, it will be thrown for 50% extra damage or 200% extra damage against flyers, which will obliterate them, as you may imagine. However, it doesn't have the speed bonus that the Thief Knife does for Locke, so I'm going to stick with the Thief Knife for now. The other reason not to spend that money is because we're going to need a bunch of money for something coming up. But let's go check out the armor shop. This guy says, looks like war's a-coming. Little bit of a folksy gentleman, I suppose. Now, one thing that we're going to want is this tiara, which is going to buff magic power, but not as much as the Magus hat, but it has much better stats otherwise, so we're going to go ahead and grab one. And then the other thing is Power Sash. So this is going to grant +5 vigor, +5 stamina, and +1 speed. It is a little bit less speed than the ninja gear by precisely 1, but we're going to grab 2 of these, which is going to leave us just about exactly enough money for what we're going to be doing next. To be precise, we're going to need 33,000, but 34,000 is close enough for me, but let's go ahead and put on the Power Sash, and as you can see, we do lose 1 speed, but the other stats are so much better, we're just going to go with it. And 1 for Sabin as well. All right. Now we have one more thing to do in town, and that's talking to this guy here. Lone Wolf, the infamous thief, has been sighted here. Are my treasures safe? And that's an excellent question. Well, let's go find out. Because we remember there was that locked treasure box in this room that we couldn't get into, so let's find out what's happened to it. Whoa! I've been made! And yep, sure enough, he's after the treasure. Now while he's talking, we can execute this little visual glitch here. Where his legs blink. Anyway, he says, I am Lone Wolf the Pickpocket. I wanted that treasure. And he's gonna run away. And sure enough, the treasure box is empty, so let's go chase after him. Locke's not just gonna sit around while someone else is taking the treasure, and he says, Gah. Now, where he's headed is going to be in the mines, and while we're on the way there, I have something that I want to talk about. And that is Setzer's slots and how exactly they work. Now, I think the best way to get started on this subject is by just listing off what each of the successful slot rolls can do. Persistent, aren't you? And we sure are. We're not giving up. Now, with regard to slots, there are 8 different things that can happen, and I'm going to list them from worst to best, in a way, so let's get started with Logomorph, which is any losing combination when you just get 3 random symbols. It's going to heal for a small amount, but it will cure Dark, Poison, and Sight. The reason it heals for such a small amount is that it does not ignore magic defense, so the more magic defense you have, the less you'll get healed for. Moving on, we have Chocobop, which is when you hit 3 Chocobos. It's magic damage to all enemies and misses flyers. And you're going to notice a theme that basically all of these are just magic damage to all enemies, but let's keep going. So 7 Flush will be 3 diamonds, that's magic damage to all enemies. Sunflare is 3 dragons, which is the same thing, magic damage to all enemies. And H-Bomb is 3 airships, magic damage to all enemies. Now here is where things get a little bit interesting. 3 bars will summon a random Esper, just like the Magicite item, and then we've already seen Joker Doom when we pulled that little sneaky on the crane arms, but that's when you hit 3 sevens. Magic Instant Death always hits, and for some strange reason, casting it or hitting it on the slots counts as casting level 5 Doom. I'll explain why that matters a little bit later on. It is a little bit of a weird quirk with it, though. And then finally, I did say worst to best, but this one is actually the worst thing that can happen, which is Reverse Joker Doom, where if you hit 7-7 bar, it's magic instant death, but it targets the party. Now there are some interesting strategies when it comes to that, where when Joker Doom will not work, you can actually do Reverse Joker Doom and abuse some of the targeting quirks with this game to get it to hit the enemies. But we've almost caught up, so that's enough about that for now. There he is. Let's get him. Halt! Don't move or this one's dust. That's right, he's got a hostage, and I don't want that cute little Moogle to be dust, so I'm gonna stand perfectly still. Coupeau, he says. Got a wild one here. Ah! And he says, grr, you'll never get this gold hairpin. Now, this is not a false choice. We've got to pick between grabbing that gold hairpin and rescuing the Moogle. Now, it's worth noting that if you pick one, you will not get the other. Now, if we don't pick the Moogle, we can still get him later. He doesn't go away forever, so don't worry about that too much, and let me explain what the gold hairpin does, because it is actually pretty tempting. It halves the cost of all spells, or another way you could think about it is by doubling your MP, which is really, really good. However, the Moogle is too irresistibly cute for me to leave him to fall off the cliff, so let's rescue him. "Thank you, Po," he says. "Can you talk?" And yes, he absolutely can. Human-loving, fast-talking, street-smart, slam-dancing Moogle. And this is, of course, Mog, our friend from the very beginning of the game. "That old psycho Ramu came to me in a dream and told me to be expecting you. And now, I'm gonna join your party." And the wolf says, "This is how it's gonna be? Then take this." And he leaps off the cliff. And I like that we just look for a moment and are like, that was weird. Anyway, I'll wait in the airship, Kupo. And we're out of here. Let's say goodbye to Tritalk, and let's go. Now, why don't I finish up talking about slots, because we have a lot to talk about this episode. So one of the most interesting things about slots, and one of the worst things in my opinion, is the way they are rigged both for and against you. What do I mean by that? Well, most people know that if you hit either Chocobo or Diamond on the first reel, you are all but guaranteed to hit the corresponding symbol on the next two, but how exactly does that work? Admittedly, I am not an expert on this subject, but after a lot of research, I figured it out. Essentially, the RNG decides if your success is allowed. An example of this is when we manipulated it using an echo screen for the crane encounter, which allowed us to hit 3 7s when that shouldn't have been possible. Since Chocobop and 7 Flush are always allowed, this means if we hit one on the first reel, the next two will help us land on them by matching them up if we are within 4 symbols, which due to their frequency of appearance on the reels is always true. Conversely, the higher damage ones help you a bit less, I would say 1 to 3, and sometimes are not possible. And that feeling of watching the reels keep spinning even though you press the button is, in my opinion, a major feel-bad, and combined with the fact that you have to pause the game in order to really maximize the power of slots makes it an ability I am not a huge fan of. Joker Doom is really sweet though. Alright, and we are all done in Nars, so let's get out of here because this is now the best part of any Final Fantasy game, definitely the best feeling. We have full control over the airship and we can go wherever we want. But before we do, we're gonna make a new party because people that haven't been with us have not had the chance to learn spells. And Mog says, Kupopo. Change party members and let's do it. So, by the way, Mog is just dumb strong. He's level 21 and has 742 HP. So let's grab Mog, Terra, Cyan, and Gao, because we want to teach them some spells while we're putzing around doing some optional stuff. And now let's go ahead and unequip everybody, because we need to kind of start from the top here. So, we're just going to go ahead and hit Optimum, but we want Green Berets on everyone except for Terra. We want her wearing the tiara. And to talk about what I was talking about before, the Magus Hat is 3 more magic power, but the stats on the tiara overall are really good, so we're just going to leave it for now. Furthermore, Terra doesn't really have any effective spells right now. She still just has her sad little fire spell, so we don't need to worry about that too much. And that looks pretty good, so let's get our relic set up. Let's get Mog in the back row. And now, we've had these Dragoon boots just collecting dust, and because Mog can wield spears, he's going to make a great candidate for a Dragoon character. So, let's get that on him. And we're going to go ahead and give him running shoes, and I'll explain why in a little bit. But he's kind of an auto-battler character like Gao, so I feel like them getting more actions helps you get the event that you want. Now, since Terra doesn't have anything useful to do, I think she's going to wear our sprint shoes. And then we can just give her whatever we want. Why not some earrings, even though her magic is not going to be great for a little while here. Now, Cyan is our physical attacker, so let's go ahead and give him our physical setup, which is going to be the Atlas armlets and the Hyper Wrist, bumping his vigor all the way up to 67. So let's go ahead and throw the hero ring on Gao because he does a physical attack half the time and a magic attack half the time. And once again, he's an auto-battler character, so let's give him the running shoes. Now let's do our Espers setup. The first one I want to do is Terra, and I'm going to give her Modwin because she needs some useful magic, and it's going to buff her magic power. We can go ahead, and I know for a fact that I want to give Cyan Bismarck because that's going to be the +2 Vigor on level up, so let's go ahead and do that. Plus, it will teach him some basic spells, which is nice. The remaining can be, we can go ahead and give Stray to Mog. Buffing his magic power is good. Buffing everyone's magic power is good, but you only have so much to go around, so I think it's useful to have somebody that you're buffing their physical attack, even though it's going to end up being inferior to just doing magic. And for Gao, let's just go ahead and do the HP boost. Why not? And that should be good. All right, let's get a move on. Now, the first place I want to go is Jadur because the auction house is going to be open, and that's going to have some very exciting things in it. So let's go ahead and get that done. Now, there are going to be 4 things available in the auction house right now. That's going to be 2 relics and 2 espers. Let's talk about those really quick. So the 2 relics are going to be the Cure Ring and Cherub Down. Cure Ring is going to give you auto regen, and that can be really good if you focus on buffing stamina. It can actually become pretty insane. And the Cherub Down is going to grant you auto float status. It's not great because you can just cast float, but it does work like the running shoes, for example, where you can't be slowed, you just have permanent haste. And the Cherub Down works that way, where there are enemy abilities that can eliminate your float, but won't work if you're using Cherub Down. So situationally, it can be a useful thing, but it isn't great. Let's be clear about that. Now, the exciting things are the 2 espers, Golem and Zone Seek. We'll talk about those once we get our hands on them, but there is only a 12.5% chance for Golem to appear as the thing being auctioned, and Zone Seek is even worse at 6.25%. Now, we can actually manipulate the RNG, so we don't have to just go in the auction house and hope that one of them shows up. And how that's going to work is that this lady right over here, the one that says ain't no easy way to make the Imperial lands, is going to helpfully tell us where we are in the RNG table when we quickly enter and exit the auction house. Now, Golem is going to be right, down, right, and Zone Seek is going to be up, right, left. But if you end up getting Golem first, you have to replace Zone Seek's pattern with Golem's pattern. So if you get right, down, right as the first pattern, you have to just get that one again, which definitely can be very confusing. Now let's see how it works. So she goes up, right, down. Left is no good, so it starts at the top. Still on left. So there's down. Right is good. Up. Can we get a right? Nope. And we just keep going. So there's a right. Another right. Another right, we can get it down. That's an up. Another up, can we get a right? Right, and is this left? It is, all right. Now we will have an Esper up for auction. And this should be Zone Seek. Okay, here's our next item. And there it is, the Magicite Zone Seek. And we're gonna have to bid on it, and it's going to be expensive. Ho, 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 there's nothing I can't buy. 2,000 gil. 3,000 gil. 4,000 gil. 5,000 gil. Well, how about it? And we can say I'll pass or buy it for 7,000. The main thing you need to do is just bid at the top one, but we'll bid 7,000. Why not participate? And Mr. There's Nothing I Can't Buy bids 8,000 gil. And well, how about it? Buy it for 10,000 gil, and yes, we will. Because Zone Seek is really, really good. And sold to this lucky quote-unquote person, Mog. So we get Zone Seek, and that's all for today. Come back again real soon, and I will. In fact, I'm going to come back in about 30 seconds. So now we're looking for right, down, right. There's the right. Up is no good. Up is still no good. And I think stuff like this is really cool. Speedrunners are just very, very amazing to me. And one of my favorite things about it is that I think that there wouldn't be this much information found about this game if people didn't really, really love it and want to dissect it and find out how it works. That was a right and a down, and we'll probably get a right here. Yep, all right, there's Golem. Okay, here's our next item. And shocker, it's Golem. Look at that. We're going to go ahead and bid on it. It's already up to 5,000. 10,000. Well, how about it? We'll try bidding 15,000, but it's not going to work. We're going to have to spend a little bit more on this one. Let's buy it for 20,000 gil. And this is what we needed all this money for. Mog wins again, because of course he does. Well, that's all for today. Come back again real soon. And I will not be back, actually, because we don't need those relics. They're wildly expensive. Now, we have a few more destinations, but I want to pick up one more Esper. And where we're going to head right now is Albrook. And the only reason we're doing this is just to get a clue about where to go next. I already know where to go, but I think it's fun to find the clues. So we'll swing by here. And we want to talk to this guy all the way over here. And he says some strange guy's trying to sell glowing stones. When I wouldn't take one, he said he was going to Zen. And that's where we're going to go, because we are very interested in glowing stones. We love our glowing stones. So that makes Zen our next destination, but on the way there we're going to swing by Vector, because there's something there I want to show you. If you just try to go back in Vector, you will see this. That is the Guardian. Let's try to sneak past it. That did not work. He is a very good Guardian. It will not let us pass, and that is true. Let's get out of here, because if we attack this thing, it will obliterate us just like before. But I think his little sprite there is pretty cool, so I just wanted to show that. Let's get out of here. Let's go find that glowing stone. And that is going to be for sale in here. Now the guy we're looking for is going to be hiding in the woods up over here. Oh no, he says. Whew. Don't scare people like that. I thought you were a trooper. A while ago, someone broke into the Magitech research facility and raised a ruckus. Yeah, we don't know anything about that. But he says I took the opportunity to grab this. For 3,000 gil, this glowing stone is yours, and let's tell him yes. We will take it, and we get the Magicite Seraphim. Now that's all we need to do here, but we've got all the Magicite I wanted, so let's go ahead and check it out. So Zone Seek gives that +2 magic power and will teach Rasp, Osmos, and Shell. And Zone Seek's Summon is going to be Wall, which casts Shell on all somewhat confusingly. But that +2 magic power is really, really awesome. However, how much magic power you have is not going to matter if you don't have any useful spells, so we're going to rock with Modwin on Terra for now. And while we're in here, let's just talk about the other ones. So Seraphim Summon Reviver will heal the entire party for a decent amount. And she's going to teach you all these spells you see here. Life, Cure 2, Cure, Regen, and Remedy. This is the very best white magic Esper we have access to, and it'll teach you all these really, really fast. It's just awesome. And then Golem has a very unique ability. All it tells you is that it protects the party, which is true, but let me tell you what's going on with it. How it works is it takes a pool of HP equivalent to the caster's HP, and then it will block that much incoming damage across the whole party until the pool runs out, which is a unique ability because you can't get that effect from any other spell in the game, so it's pretty cool. He also teaches you Save, Stop, Cure 2, and gives you +2 stamina at level up, which could be really interesting to go along with the Cure Ring. And that will do it for now. I don't think I want to put any of those on just yet. The spells they teach are pretty good, but I like the bonuses we have going on, although someone should definitely have Zone Seek on, so let's maybe rethink that. Yeah, let's go ahead and put Zone Seek on Gao, give him that nice +2 magic power, no reason not to. Now there's one place we haven't been yet, and that is the town of Thamasa, which is going to be right over here. Now we can't do anything here yet, but there are a few items to pick up, and it's just interesting since it's a spot on the map we haven't been yet. So let's check it out. And this woman says, right. And what we'll notice is that nobody wants to talk to us. But let's go ahead and collect the items we can find in here. And all the shopkeepers say, I've never seen you before. Now, that is very, very strange to me that they won't sell to you if they've never seen you before, because that's a terrible, terrible way to run a business. But anyway. This one also just says right. And same deal in the arsenal. They won't sell us anything. And it's definitely very intriguing as to what's going on here. Why are they so nervous about outsiders? Not clear. It's gonna be the same deal with the relic shop, so we can just move on. This little kid says, get out of the way. Okay, kid, maybe I will. We can pick up a green cherry there. And here's an interesting looking fellow. And he says, and who might you be? And that's all he has to say to us for now. We can get a phoenix down here. And this guy says, for some reason the innkeeper doesn't like strangers. But I don't feel like that's a unique thing to him, like nobody here seems to like strangers, but let's talk to him anyway. You're strangers. 1,500 gil if you want to stay. And let's tell him, no way. Not a chance, buddy. We'll find the echo screen here. And let's stop in the Elder's house. He says, I've never seen you before, just like everyone else. All right. Let's go ahead and get out of here. So now it's time to get every available dance for Mog. And we can actually do that pretty quickly. There's only one that we can't get, and maybe I should have mentioned this earlier, but there is one dance we're going to get right now where if you didn't rescue Mog, you will never be able to get it. But we're going to go ahead and get that right now, after we get the remaining ones we can get on these different types of terrain. Now, I'll talk about the dances we're getting here in depth in a little bit, but as we go through these battles, I'd like to mention something you'll undoubtedly notice. Some of the more astute among you have probably been wondering, if everyone has access to magic now, what's Terra's unique ability? It turns out that now that she understands herself better, she has access to the morph command, and as it happens, we cannot currently use it. I'm sure you're wondering how exactly that works, so let me explain. The morph command will double damage for Terra, both magic and physical, and have all incoming damage for an indeterminate amount of time, which is shown by a sort of reverse ATB gauge that ticks down. So why can't we use it just yet? Well, the ability charges up based upon the amount of magic points you've accumulated. You'll need a minimum of 16 magic points to use the command, and the maximum you can have stored is, of course, 255, meaning the value stored is 1 byte. The more magic points you have stored, the longer the bar lasts, so you'll want to use more sparingly but semi-regularly to get the most out of it. And that command is why you should probably decide right here and now whether or not you want Terra to be a magic or physical attacker. Because you have a limited number of levels up that you can give her, meaning the bonuses that Espers give on level up, you should probably just choose one path to go down, and you can really just pick your poison. She can become an incredible physical attacker or an incredible magic attacker. I personally prefer going the magic route just because of the fact that she's half Esper and was gifted with magic from birth. So I really like to maximize that just based upon what I know about the character, but there's nothing wrong with doing whatever you want with the character. It's really, really open, and Morph is just a really fantastic command. Now that we've gotten 3 dances from forest, plains, and desert terrain, the next place we're going to head is Zozo to grab the town terrain and get one more dance right in here. But one thing that I want to mention while we're doing this is how much I really appreciate the level of customization and openness of the Morph command. Compare that to something like Gao's Rage command, where you have to grind against RNG just to get it to be decent. With Morph, it's just good, and however you want to play it is great. And that's something I really appreciate about it. It's just really, really good. I really can't say enough about it. So while we're picking up these dances, I think one thing I should mention is there are some pratfalls when it comes to learning new dances. The main one is that if you end up firing off a dance and it works, it changes the background, and then you don't end up actually learning the dance for the background you were on, if that makes sense. This fight was a little tougher than I thought it would be, but we got through it just fine. There is our Love Sonata dance, and let's get out of here. The very next place we're going to go is Mount Colts, because the outside of Mount Colts is going to have a new background, which is going to allow us to pick up a dance there. So let's just land our airship right here and get in there and get in one more fight. The nice thing about this is, I know I've complained about it a lot already, but as compared to Gao's Rages, you just win the one fight and then you get the ability. You don't really need to worry about RNG, like the background will just be there, it's very reliable, so we're actually going to be able to get this done relatively quickly. There we go, that's our dance for this background, and let's keep on going. The next place we're headed to is Nicaea, because we have to take a very long chocobo ride. It's going to be a bit of a circuitous route. So, we're going to pop in here and run directly over to the chocobo stable and get a move on that. This is the dance that's probably the most challenging, the one that people usually miss, because you can miss it by not picking up Mog and getting the gold hairpin instead of him, and also it's very, very out of the way, but I'm going to show you how to do it right here. Now while we're doing this, we can talk a little bit about dance and how it works. I feel like I did kind of a medium job of explaining it, so I'm going to try to do a better job right now. So dance is not a great ability, and I think you'll see why as we go over it. To start, similar to Gao's Rage, when you select dance, you lose control over Mog for the rest of the fight, and I think I've made my point about that, but I really don't like having choice taken away from me as a player. But anyway, the action that dance will execute is random. Compounding this, when you dance, the background will change to the area in which you learned the dance, as I've already mentioned, but if you select a dance that does not match the current fight's background, there's a 50% chance the command will fail, and you will have wasted Mog's turn. All the dances have 4 possible actions, and I'll refer to these in Magic parlance: common, uncommon, rare, and mythic. The odds of each of these are 7 in 16, 6 in 16, 2 in 16, and 1 in 16, and once we acquire all the dances, I'll list the moves for each dance in that order. But here we are at Barren Falls, and we need to take this to get to the Veldt. And let's go ahead and jump in. And we're immediately going to end up on the Veldt, and this is another good reason to have Gao with us, since our path is going to take us through here anyway. We can get a leap in if it's opportune. Sure, we don't have these yet. Nothing right now is going to be particularly impressive. We pretty much have all the rages we want for a while. Oh, and Gao came back on the very next fight. That is pretty lucky, but while this is happening, I should mention yet another pratfall with using dance, and that is if you have Gao leap, but you've executed a dance, Mog does not get the memo, and he will attack Gao and scare him away. And should Gao happen to be coming back on a fight that you actually wanted those rages, that can be really frustrating. Now, do we have the Pipsqueak rage already? I don't think so. Yeah, why don't we go ahead and leap on this one? Just because we're here. And look at that, Gao came back on the very next fight again. That's pretty lucky, although he didn't come back on any fights where he could learn new rages, so that's kind of unlucky, but frankly, just having him come back right away, I think qualifies as lucky, so I don't have to waste any time. And what we came here to do is go back through the Serpent Trench. This is going to be the one dance that you will miss if you don't get Mog for this section of the game. And let's go ahead and jump. Now, the trident that Mog is using is not the best thing to have in here because it's water elemental, but we can win one fight and then we'll be able to start dancing. And while we're waiting for this battle to happen and then get through it, why don't we talk about the couple of rages we just learned, which is Flan and Pipsqueak. So Flan will be immune to water, wind, earth, pearl, and poison, weak to fire, and prevent the statuses Dark, Poison, Imp, and Petrify, and the attack is Slimer, which is a less accurate version of Slow. And then the Pipsqueak is weak to thunder and water, prevents the status Zombie, Poison, Imp, Petrify, and Seizure, and casts Imp. Alright, that'll do it. That's all the dances that are available to us at this point in the game, meaning we're only missing one, so I'll see you back at Nikke. Alright, and we're back, washed up on the docks, right by our airship, which is very, very nice indeed. Now, we're actually going to come right back in here after I save really quick, because there's a small cutscene that I want to show you, but if I get it right now without just resetting, it ends up being a ridiculously long walk, so let's just get that out of the way right now. And what we want to do is take a boat ride to South Figaro. And when we arrive, this is going to happen. Imperial troops are milling about. Gotta jam without being seen. And how best to do that? By hiding inside a treasure box, of course. And we pop out. And use caution right here is, I don't know this for a fact, but what I think it is a very lazy translation of Kyotsukete, which means be careful. People don't say use caution to each other. They say be careful or be safe. Imagine like leaving somewhere and someone was like, oh, you know, use caution on your way home. Anyway, let's get out of here. Now I'm going to go ahead and reload the save so we can get back to where we were. Okay, so here we are back outside of Nikke by our handy-dandy airship. I didn't want to make the insanely long trip all the way back around, but you could do that if you wanted to grind a little bit. Now, there's one more thing that I want to do before we continue on with the plot, and that's visiting this forested area right over here. But before we get into that, now that we have a good handle on how dance works, let's go through each of the dances and what all of their abilities will do. So starting at the top with Wind Song, the most common one is Wind Slash, which is wind elemental damage to all, a little bit weaker than tier 2 magic. The second most common is Sunbath, which is going to heal everybody for actually a boatload, like around 600 HP. It's really, really good. Then it's got Plasma, which is a really strong thunder elemental attack, and finally Cockatrice for Petrify. Forest Wheat is going to start with Rage, which is a non-elemental all-enemy hitting attack. Then Harvester, which will cure all status ailments. Elf Fire, which is fire elemental, stronger than Fire 2. And finally, Wombat, which is a non-elemental magic defense ignoring attack that misses flyers. Desert Aria is going to have Sandstorm as the most common, wind elemental, and a little bit above tier 2 spells. Antlion, which is a cool callback to Final Fantasy IV, which will inflict wound. Wind Slash, which we already know, and Kitty, which will cast Haste on everybody, which is really, really sweet, but unfortunately very, very rare. Love Sonata starts with Elfire at the top, we already know that one. Spectre, which will do Muddle. Snare, which we already know, and Tapir, which is supposed to just cure sleep, or Psych in this game, but instead heals all status ailments. Earth Blues is going to have Landslide at the top, which is non-elemental single target damage. Sonic Boom, which we already know, but as a reminder, it will deal a little more than 50% damage, 5/8 to be exact, and inflict seizure. It has Sunbath, which we already know, and Wump, which is non-elemental single target damage. Water Rondo is going to start with El Nino at the top, which is really, really strong. It's water elemental and as powerful as Ice 3. Plasma, which we already know, Spectre, which we already know, and Wild Bear, which will heal everybody and cure status ailments, and we already know Dusk Requiem. Now, the encounter we're looking for over here is going to be the Grenade, and that's going to be 1 in 16 of these encounters, so I'm not going to fight them all. I will fight about half of them in an effort not to get too over-leveled. We're actually going to be gaining a large number of levels very soon. So we don't need to grind too much here, although you definitely could and just let the grenade encounter happen whenever it wants to and level up that way. and learn a bunch of spells in the meantime. But I will see you when we hit that grenade encounter. Hey, there it is. All right. That didn't actually take as long as I thought it would. Wow, that just survived 2,000 damage? Should I be scared? That's gotta do it, right? Okay. Wow. And that pretty much wraps up everything that I want to do optional side quest stuff-wise. So, now it's time to head to the Imperial base, which is going to be right over here. And we're going to head inside and make our way to the sealed gate, but that's going to have to wait until next time because I'm all out of time for today. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next Final Fantasy Friday.